So Will was editing the OpenAI podcast last week, so I had to edit last week's podcast, and I promptly released both the main episode and the bonus episode as one episode. Immediately. I immediately screwed up.
That worries me because Jen said a lot of sexist stuff on that. We like to keep that behind the paywall.
I mean, just so people know, like, not a bit. Not a bit. I really am that I cannot be trusted. It is amazing how fast this stuff atrophies when you actually bring somebody else on to do stuff, because like now I am just a baby trying to run a CNC welding machine.
Oh, yeah. When Claire was on maternity leave, I was just getting all of these little emails being like, something's off in the show notes. Like, why isn't the player working on this episode? And it's like, because it's me, because I had to do it myself and I don't know what I'm doing.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah, literally. Yes, it happens. You lose it all real quick. So,
Heaton, you're in Edinburgh still?
I'm in Edinburgh still, and it's really lovely weather outside. It's probably like 58 to 60 degrees and sunny. It's really, really nice. There was a heat wave last week where it got up to 80, but it's very humid. It was like 80, 90% humidity. And the Scots don't have air conditioning, so you just kind of stew in it, but that's done now. We're done with that. Now it's just very pleasant.
Have you seen any good Fringe shows?
I've just started going to them. But I'm excited about a few. Let's see here. I saw a thing today that was like a series of short plays, some of which I liked. The last one kind of bugged me because it was like both comedically and just in general. Like, so the stuff that I thought was fun was they had a bit where three people get onto a carousel, or not a carousel, a Ferris wheel. And one of them's clearly not supposed to be there. The first guy's like trying to bribe the guy to only have his girlfriend on there. They're setting the stage where he's going to propose. You then realize that he's doing this as a memory with a different girlfriend, so he's already fucked up. That one was kind of funny. And then there was one where people were having an affair, and like one of them accepts a package, and they take a picture of her hand on the package for Amazon, so she freaks out. Good. I feel like the British are very, very good at awkward social situation humor. But then the last one was this sketch of American broadcasters and a British weatherman, and it was just kind of all over the board, and like was sort of like, Americans, they don't believe in climate change, and I'm like, that's fine. That's fine. Can we make that? Can that be the sketch though? It was just this grab bag that never really coalesced. But you know, I'm starting to watch shows now.
Good. I want you to give scathing reviews of all of these experimental Fringe shows.
I feel bad. I went to a show last week that I really didn't like, but I liked the guy. This is why I couldn't be a good reviewer. So I did a talk last Friday, and the guy that was doing the introduction for me and conducted it is a columnist for The Guardian, and he's also a theater reviewer. And I told him I have a lot of respect for that, because I very briefly, like twice, did theater reviews when I was in New York for a now defunct website. And it was really difficult because you could tell that the people that were on stage had really put a lot of effort into their shitty play. And
they are going to read every word
absolutely going to read
of what you write. Yeah.
But as a reviewer, your loyalty is to the audience, because you're trying to save them time and point them in the right direction. I didn't like it at all, and I never wanted to do it again. I don't have the chops for it, because I feel bad telling people that have put a lot of effort into something that I didn't like the thing. So I'll scale back from that. I'll save all of my ire from Megalopolis, and I think that the director should
You're
be
still hot on that.
Still, that man should be exiled from America. They should burn down the vineyard he sold. Horrible.
I sent Heaton. I sent you some Instagram thing of a Fringe controversy where two comedians were doing a show called Diddy Party. And then somebody complained about the fact that it was called Diddy Party, and then they got canceled. But it was just your standard, we did a thing, we got canceled thing. But for whatever reason, it's just so much more charming when they all have Scottish accents. Like, it just feels like the Muppets. It's like, I'm sure it was very personal for them. They were like, where are we like, we can't play there, and now we're out of our deposit and blah blah blah. And it was like very serious. But for me, I'm like, oh, that's adorable. Like all parts of it. The woman who's upset about it, and I don't know what it is.
Yeah. No, the exits make it fun. I felt bad for those guys. I watched that video you sent me, and like the lady just inferred they were pro Diddy because the poster said Diddy Party.
Weird inference for a comedy thing. That it would just be an unironic declaration of support for Sean Combs.
Wouldn't surprise me in the slightest, by the way, if there's another show here called Putin Party, which is probably, I'm going to guess, if I had to guess, probably making fun of Vladimir Putin more than just giving a speech extorting or saying his incredible values as a man or whatever. Or like, they're not so much this time. But back in like 2019, every other show had Trump in the title. Everything was, most of them, broadly speaking, I would say, weren't pro-Trump. I would say that they were generally pretty critical of Trump. So I felt bad for those guys. Somebody saw Diddy and then try to ruin their life and got him kicked. It's expensive doing the Fringe, by the way. You lose money most of the time. Those guys are screwed.
Also, crazy that somebody would have an opinion on the content of a show at the Moral Certitude Festival. Oh, wait, it's the Fringe Festival. Isn't the whole idea that the ideas are supposed to be weird and dark? I don't know.
Yeah.
Jen, you were very excited. You were overrun by volleyball professionals over the last several days. How was the tournament that you were so looking forward to?
Oh, it was so much fun. And in fact, it was better than I could have imagined. Like, I did something I'm completely unqualified for, and it was great, which is that the girls that were staying with me, they first of all, they said that they wanted to warm up. And the one part of my game that I'm really confident in is that I have a mean serve. So I was like, yeah, I'll come early and serve with you. And it was like really early. We were on the sand at 6:30 in the morning. And so they were just like grateful that I was doing that. And then like they don't have a coach. They came out from Austin. And so I was just like, well, I mean, I can look at the other team and tell you if there's any patterns, like if they're hitting the line or the angle or whatever. And so during their match, I got to be their coach. And it was so fun. So I just felt like, oh my God, I'm coaching an AVP team. I don't belong here, but like I was useful. They told me that my serve was as mean as I said it was. And that I was helpful because there were some patterns that the other team was
you
using.
Sussed them out.
I did. Yeah. And so it was just like
Coach Jen.
Yeah. I was just
love
like,
it.
I do. I was sitting there like pinch me like this is crazy. So it was an honor to be a part of their team on Thursday morning. And then we were knocked out early, unfortunately. And then 5 of my coaches were in the tournament. And so one of them, I've got to say, Anaya Evans, she took 7th in the tournament. And this is huge. This is the biggest tournament in the United States. I think this is their best finish. And I was just like so proud of her.
What does taking 7 mean? Please spell it out.
She got 7th place in the entire tournament.
Gotcha. Okay.
And like the people that won it were our Olympians from 2024. So, I mean, this was a very big deal to get that close to the top. And there were some big upsets that she had to pull off to get there. So super proud of her. I was getting up really early to make all of her matches. Just really proud of my coaches. It made me feel like, oh, I should really listen to these people because they know what they're doing. Yeah. So
pretty good.
It was so much fun. And then I flew to Podcast Movement on Sunday, which was the day of the finals. And so I got to watch it on TV while Joe was there. So we were like texting each other all day. And so even though I was bummed to like not physically be there, I still got to, finish the tournament and watch it. Yeah. So, so much fun. But then I came into a conference with my voice already shot. So you might hear that like.
Well, at least you don't have to talk to people.
I prefer smoky Jen. I would kind of like it if you took up cigarette smoking, Jen.
Yeah, I've heard it's a sexy vibe. I drank a lot of tea this morning to get ready for this, but yeah, I'm losing it for sure. So yeah, so I'm very tired and I have a raspy voice, but I'm having a very good time this week. It's been nothing but fun seeing old friends. And yeah, I love this conference so much. So I'm having a good time. Learning a lot too.
What is the biggest lesson that you've learned amongst your podcast brethren?
Oh, you're going to love this, Justin. The magic of Riverside. Like,
really?
Yeah. They've got some cool stuff. So,
is Riverside there?
Yeah. Yeah. So the guy, there was a talk yesterday where they were just kind of showing what Riverside can do for video. Cause like I've thought about doing congressional dish stuff on video, but I cannot add any more time to my work life. And so it's like, I'm never going to do this unless it's easy for me.
Sure.
And I looked at what Riverside has available and I'm like, okay, so today I'm going to go down there and have them be like, hey, so let's pretend I'm 7 years old.
Yeah.
Show me how to do what I need to do.
Tell me everything that Justin's been telling me for the last year and a half, but now I'll listen.
Yeah, quite literally. Yeah. Yeah, I even made that joke this morning. I was like, yeah, Justin's going to love me being like, oh yeah, that's stuff you've been telling me for a year.
You want to know what? It's great because now I have a daughter, so I have to get used to women just not listening to me no matter how many times I tell them.
I don't want to brag, but women have been listening to me for years and I don't have a at all.
But honestly, the fact that you've been talking about it for so long, there are different streaming services here. So we have our pick and apparently they're all pretty good, but the fact that you use it. And so I do kind of have a built-in friend / coach for when I'm like, I don't know how to use this. Like, you are a reason why I'm leaning towards them.
What I would say
you're
is
in my head, Justin. I promise.
Thank you. They are all good. What's going to happen, and you're already seeing it, is that they are all kind of diverging because AI development is so fast into specific use cases. So Riverside is very good for you're going to record a thing and then post it later. It can do live streaming, but it's not the best at live streaming. It can do editing pretty well, but that's what it's best at. Some of the other ones are really, really good at live streaming your stuff. So if you want to have a group conversation and put it out to multiple places, that's super easy. The tools are built for it. Some of them like Descript are great for very experimental stuff. They're adding like new AI features constantly. And Riverside is too. Nobody's really slacking right now in that space, but you'll be able to get a version of a thing probably faster on Descript than you would on Riverside. But Riverside is pretty rounded edges. Like it's pretty easy to work with.
Descript's really good if you're going to have to edit stuff and move it around because it'll give you a transcript. So you're basically working with words as opposed to having to sit through the audio. So if I've got, I don't do this very often, but like once or twice a year, if I've got a guest where it's a bunch of stuff and I need to rearrange it to make the flow of conversation work, or alternately, I know that we need to cut a bunch of stuff and I don't want to have to sit and go through it second by second. Descript's really good for that.
Riverside does that too.
I don't want to get
you can edit video with the text. You just delete the text and it'll just
can you do like fades and transitions and things as well? Like if I wanted to have my intro video with my intro music, I could have that come in, fade it, all that, transitions.
Can you? All right. You want to know what? Jen, I'll send you this link from Riverside. And when you go to the Riverside booth, say, my friend Justin has been talking to me about this. Can you please just give him an influencer deal? Like if I'm going to be out here influencing,
shilling for it,
can your boy, come on, just at least comp my account. Yes, you can add fades and transitions and custom graphics and stuff like that.
Yeah. And let's not get too into the weeds on this because most people don't give a shit.
No,
but
people don't care.
Yeah. What I like and what I need is I need something as simple that a toddler can use it because technologically I am said toddler. So
you are a toddler.
I am. I know. I'm your old daughter. So
old daughter.
Yeah.
Hi, young daughter.
Your elderly daughter.
Old daughter.
Yeah. Your big sister in tech.
From Austin, Texas, I'm Justin Robert Young. From Dallas, Texas,
I'm Jennifer Briney.
And from Edinburgh, Scotland,
I'm Andrew Heaton.
And we're not wrong on this edition of the program. We're talking about the fate of Ukraine. Just kidding. Taylor Swift was on a podcast, and we're going to talk about that as well as the rebranding of MSNBC to MS Now. MS space now. It doesn't stand for Microsoft, multiple sclerosis, or misses.
I was about to say, that's the same name as my multiple sclerosis charity. I'm going to have to compete with them.
It's the first thing I thought.
No, we will reveal all of the details and see what it says about us. Then, of course, your emails from last week's show. Do we have any thoughts on the fate of the world before we delve into the Taylor Swift of it all? The Putin meeting, the Zelensky meeting, anything? Do we care? Do we know? Do we like? Do we hate?
I will admit that because you didn't tell me to study it, I've been so blissfully checked out of all of it. It's been wonderful. Someone came up to me the other day and he was like, I have thoughts on Alaska. And I was like, what happened in Alaska? I didn't even know. So it's been wonderful. I have no thoughts. And it's great.
Jen, wait, do people just come up to you and sit down and go, I have thoughts on this thing, and then just start ranting?
Yes.
Wait, do they not do that for you?
Your
audience feels like the most prone to just sit down and beyond any social boundaries, just start spouting off about their opinions on something esoteric.
Yeah, but like less bluntly though. You can give my audience a little bit of credit. There's a little bit of finesse. Although
he didn't just like come out of nowhere and like without a high, like we had been talking for a while.
Okay, that's what I thought.
But like, do people do that? Like, yes, that absolutely happens. Where it's like,
when I'm
there's
over here,
Jen, I have a bone to pick with you, and like, no, it happens.
When I'm over here, I'm unpaid ambassador to the United States at half the events I go to. So like, I'll watch. Like I had a conversation the other day with a guy that like, you could tell he just kind of thinks all Americans are barbarians, and it really pisses him off that we have money.
Hell yeah.
And it like it just and like I'm not being a dick to this guy, but like just every question was sort of like the basics were, but do you think you could be less stupid? That was kind of where he was going for. Really needled me. But most of the time they'll just sit down and someone will go like, what about all the guns? And I'd be like, come again? And they're like, there's lots of guns in your country. What about that?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, let's have a gun control conversation.
Exactly.
Or whatever. The woke comes up a lot. And then immigration of late. But like, I'm cultural ambassador from the United States. And I'm not a great cultural ambassador, I don't think. But maybe after our conversation about Taylor Swift, I will be.
I think you represent us better than some other Americans would. So I'm glad you're our ambassador. You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Somebody got on me on my Discord about how much I denigrate Europe. And I just want to say to all the Europeans, when I say that Europe is Mississippi with castles or that they're a haunted museum, like, I don't mean it to make fun of you. I like you. When I go to Europe, I always have a good time. There's never really a bad time. I really do it to make fun of Americans who think Europe's awesome. That's really who I'm talking to whenever I say that. Just shout out to all the Europeans. I have no quarrel with you guys.
Okay. So Justin, I want to make this clear before we even get into the topic.
Hell yeah. Who started this?
Justin wanted us to do this Taylor Swift thing. This is not me. So Justin, take it away. Because I'm curious why you wanted to talk about this.
Taylor Swift did her longest interview ever on the New Heights podcast, hosted by her boyfriend, Kansas City tight end Travis Kelce, and his brother Jason. In the nearly 2-hour episode, Swift announced her 12th studio album, The Life of a Showgirl, set for release in October. The episode shattered podcast records, garnering over 13 million views and momentarily crashing their YouTube stream. Fans were also treated to glimpses of Swift's oft written about but rarely documented behind-the-scenes life. Her emotional journey reclaiming her masters, her love for baking and sewing children's purses, and the origin of her relationship with Kelce. The episode had one noted fan, FBI Director James Comey, who publicly declared himself a Swiftie in a Substack video praising the episode, citing her as an inspirational public figure as he grapples with political turbulence. Now, here's the reason why I wanted to do this on a ostensibly political show, because I believe that this is an inherently political story. Taylor Swift has not been shy about lending her celebrity to political causes, and the size and fame of their relationships, which marries two of the dominant pop culture forces in a world where we don't really have a lot of dominant pop culture forces, that is Taylor Swift and the NFL, has a larger reach than most nations. If they come out and say a thing, it probably matters more to the world than if Czechoslovakia comes out and officially says that something should happen.
Like they're getting back together. It'd be a big deal.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. Czech Republic and Slovakia. My bad. No, they are never, ever getting back together.
I got the joke.
That's fine.
I don't know if Andrew got the joke.
No. All right. So the reason why I wanted to talk about it is because I do think that there's a cultural story here that I don't think anybody is talking about because it's awkward for both sides to talk about it. The one side is that Taylor Swift, who has made an entire career out of her personal life, dramatizing and putting into her art her personal life. And it has been dominantly, I'm an independent woman who wears her heart on her sleeve and has been consistently mistreated by dumb, selfish men who are largely actors and waifs who weigh about 100 pounds. And that has been her story. She then has a dude call her out on a podcast to say, I really like you. I'd like to date you, which is something that would probably I'm sure that there's been articles written in a feminist studies department about how that is tantamount to rape, right? Just even the call out itself. She is charmed by it and then winds up in this relationship that by all appearances and through this 2-hour episode seems to be genuine, something that we had no idea about. And now she seems very much enthralled with a guy for which we would probably charitably refer to as a meathead's meathead, who, is talking about, and she's thrilled that she gets to play beer pong with him and seems charmed by the relationship of his brother and their wife, that this might be a future of hers where she has to kind of corral her adorable meathead every once in a while. That is something that is by a mile, maybe the most conservative, traditional male-female gender roles, family values story that has existed in American culture that I can remember. Like that this woman who is disappointed by largely liberal archetype men now finds happiness in a very alpha male. And I'm not saying that he's liberal or votes Republican or whatever, although I could take a wild guess at how the Kelsey family thinks about things as they're talking about jumping through flaming tables. That they're together and happy when her art has been defined by being not happy in relationships, I think is something that culturally says something. And yet, usually Republicans, like they were with Sydney Sweeney's boobs, are thrilled to take a pop culture victory. They're thrilled to be like, look, the culture's changing in our direction. And yet there's been nary a peep on this episode from that side because both Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are Democrats. So they don't want to give them any kind of shine whatsoever. And so I have found this entire Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce thing fascinating. And I found the podcast episode fascinating as well.
That's interesting to me because I don't see it like that at all when it comes to the gender roles, because here you have a situation where she is the breadwinner. She's the billionaire, and he is so supportive of her career to the point that like, if you didn't see the initial call out, because Kelce was talking to his brother, he had gone to the Eras tour as a fan, and something that the Swifties do is they give each other friendship bracelets. So he had made a friendship bracelet with his telephone number on it. And so he told his brother, like, I tried to give her this friendship bracelet with my number on it. And Jason was like, which number? Because like football number. And he's like, you know which number. So it's like, that is how this whole thing started. And I remember being charmed by that clip and being like, oh, that's funny. You tried to give her that bracelet. And I think part of the story why it had such legs is we went, oh my God, it worked. Like, what the hell? So it was just like cute, but he went into this as a fan. Like, so he never had the power in this, even though he is the big, strong, Super Bowl winning MVP of the game. You know, like, I don't know if he actually was MVP, but he's a superstar football player. Yeah. And yet he went into this knowingly without the power in the relationship. Like he was going after the biggest star in the world. And so we were looking at him as the underdog in this and cheering for him to get the girl. So when I look at like gender dynamics, like conservative, whatever, like she's not the little woman, even though she is like baking bread and shit, but that's not what's happening. Like she's the one with the big career. She went on New Heights to tell us about her new album, which like, by the way, marketing genius.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually
Which
see
is
it
part
as
of the reason why we thought it was
opposite.
fake. Well, no. I mean, number one, what you just described is like the 1950s story of like, you know, guy sees girl that he's like, man, she's so great, and then risks it all to get her. That's
the
like
girl being the breadwinner is so on its head from the 1950s. Like she's the one with all the money and the
being
power.
richer and famouser than the guy. Sure. Yeah. But I don't think that is necessarily, I mean, you're right. I'm not saying that this is a 1-to-1. I'm saying that it is more of a, the thing that I'm keying in more on is just like, okay, she's got however many famous actors that she dated that it went wrong and she wrote songs about that were hits. And then she has this moment during the podcast where she's like, oh, you know, green flag, this guy is friends with guys. Which therefore assumes that every man she has dated has not had male friends, which is not something that usually happens amongst, I don't know. I don't know a lot of guys that don't have guy friends. Apparently she's dated all of them. I don't know. It just that coding is what I'm keying in on, but I do see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
What would the non-traditional relationship be that the conservatives are inveighing against that you see on display from celebrities in Hollywood? Because I don't feel like just having a male-female pairing is that out of the ordinary. This is a very interesting take. It would not have occurred to me to see this as a win for traditional values, traditional gender roles. Like I look at like I don't know, George Clooney and Amal. And like handsome guy, hot lady, she's a very successful attorney. He's a very successful actor. But like, I don't know. I don't look at that and go, what a liberal relationship in terms of gender dynamic. So what would the counter be that this would be pushing against that you think is being overthrown?
Well, specifically, I would say everybody else that Taylor Swift has dated, you know, that there was, you know, kind of a more, she was mostly dating like actors and stuff like that. And DJs, people that are not what you would consider to be traditional alpha males, not a football player.
Let's name some names. Yeah. So she dated John Mayer. She dated Jake Gyllenhaal. She dated this guy for a long time, this dude named Joe. I think he was an actor, but he was kind of he was a recluse. And so one of the things that I'm liking for her in this is that Travis Kelce has no problem with the media. They don't hide anything, obviously, because they just did this pretty intimate conversation. I was surprised all of the topics that they got into because Jason asked all the questions that my gossipy ass wanted to hear. So she's able to be out in public with this guy who has this confidence that I think that her long-term boyfriend didn't have. But I mean,
and she's like into, at least she knows enough to know that defenses play cover 3, cover 2, cover 0. You know,
and that's
there's an element of that where it's like, so like Taylor Swift is kind of, I mean, you can assume from the success in her career that she has a bit of an obsessive personality and that when she wants to get into something, she really gets into it. But she has brought that to reading defenses for NFL football, which is something that you would not have on your Taylor Swift bingo card, even if you just casually followed her career.
Yeah. And I've been kind of examining my own interest in this relationship because I have been weirdly into it, which is odd because if anything, I was a fan of Travis Kelce. I've played fantasy football now for 15 years, something ridiculous. He's someone I've drafted. And then when you see him as a person and with his brother, I just find them a delight because I like meathead football players. So that was kind of how I came into it. I actually wasn't a Taylor Swift fan to the point that I don't love that she made a career out of being in a relationship with people and then shitting all over them. Like, my ex-boyfriend was a groomsman in my wedding. So I don't behave like that with people that I date. And so I didn't like her very much. I thought it was kind of Mean Girl, honestly. But then to see this transformation of her into someone who is trying out a whole new culture. Sports culture is very different. And my favorite part of their conversation was them talking about how she's an athlete too, with what she does on the stage and like the respect that he showed for what she did physically.
Yeah.
I do think there's a lot of little girls that look up to her. And when she was younger, she was trying to be super, super thin, to the point that I'm pretty sure that she said she had a level of eating disorder to make that happen. And so now here she is putting on weight, putting on muscle in order to have the strength and endurance to get through a 3.5 hour show. I think it's a really good thing that she's modeling, but like what she is doing is athletic. So then to see her and I now finally have something in common in the game of football, because I enjoy the men who play football. I enjoy the culture. I enjoy the game. I love the game. And so to watch this person that I've just been kind of like, yeah, we're not friends. And then to see like, oh, now we do have something.
Now I can have a parasocial relationship with you.
Yeah. You see what I see in this game and we at least have that in common. But actually, I don't think that I would be, and this is where I get super political with it, I don't think I ever would have been as into this relationship if it weren't for the destruction of Gaza, because the timing overlaps.
Jesus Christ.
I know. But that is how I got into it, because Travis, like, she came into the football scene in the fall of 2023. And so my algorithm was destruction of Gaza, dying babies, Taylor Swift and Travis. And it went back and forth and back and forth. And I just found myself in this wonderful escape of seeing these two people falling in love in a culture that I love. I really like Travis Kelce. I like his whole family. So to see, like, not only are they hanging out and falling in love, but their families are hanging out. Like, the parents are friends and they're up in the box and they're dancing up there. And like, I'm watching this girl having so much fun in a culture that I love. And I leaned really into just enjoying the joy in their relationship. And I am curious if I'm alone in that, or if other people were having this connection of like, oh my God, everything feels horrible right now. This is the most horrible shit I've ever seen in my life. I feel so powerless. And here is nothing but joy. And so that was my algorithm for a really long time. And when I wanted to feel better, I found myself actually like looking them up, to look at the pictures, to watch the footage from the football games. And I don't know that I would have done that if I wasn't trying to escape such darkness. Does that make sense?
It very much makes sense for your algorithm. I will say that I'm curious to see how many people email back and say that they had a similar perspective because of the things that they were naturally into. But yeah, I think it does absolutely make sense. I know that the first time that she came to a game where it became a thing, it's like, oh wait, his call out on the podcast actually worked. I was in Vegas with your tickets because the Steelers were playing with my brother and we were betting on football all day. And I remember seeing her in the booth and I was so pissed that I didn't bet on that game, because I'm like, the Chiefs are not losing if Taylor Swift is in the booth. And they surely did not. Heaton, you have no idea about any of this. And yet we forced you to watch a 2-hour podcast with people that you don't know, and I would hazard a guess don't like. Your thoughts?
I hope they break up. Yeah. I'm rooting for that for multiple reasons. First of all, I'm aware that I'm not a successful waifish skinny beta male, but I am in the waifish skinny beta male category. So I don't like this whole development of Captain Meathead getting the girl. I like it when she was going for the guys that were built like a question mark that had personality. This is not a positive development in my book. As a man shaped like a question mark that's gunning for personality rather than muscle mass. Point one. Point two, my God, watching that video, Jesus, they're real happy, aren't they? They're real happy. The level of, but it was so much energy. It was so much like forced, maybe not forced laughing, exaggerating the laughing to a level that I was like, I get it. You're in love and you love your brother. I get it. But I don't have any connection to these people. Jen, you know how like when I talk about Star Trek and your vagina closes like an old timey bank vault? That was my experience. watching this for an hour, 2 hours, just like what? Like what? I don't have any. I have
Your
no
piss hole
parasocial relationship with these
snapshot like a
people.
coin purse.
That's right. Exactly. My urethra just it created a quantum entanglement hole. Yeah. I don't know.
He's just spitting dust down there now.
Yeah. It just coughs now. I don't even ejaculate. It just yeah. So I don't know. I don't have this parasocial relationship with these people at all. They seem like nice people, by the way. I've always thought Taylor Swift was a nice person. She strikes me as a nice young lady. Of the 3 songs I've heard of hers, they seemed like they were good songs. I wish her the best. I don't really relate to the meatheads, but they seem like nice meatheads. But I don't have any of the. For me, hearing the clearly very emotional journey of her acquiring her master's tracts back from the venture capital firm had nothing. Like, I'm glad she got them back, but like, I don't particularly care what the, I guess that would be the equivalent of somebody that doesn't like Stephen King, hearing Stephen King talk about obtaining the copyright to his earlier books from his publisher. So like, it was out of my
There's a whole
orbit.
element of that lore that she didn't go into, that because she hates the person that bought them initially.
Scooter?
That I don't think she
Braun.
wanted to give him any undue part of that tale.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a little bit of a longer story that fans are very aware of, because the big element of it is the thing that they did go through, which is that she re-recorded all of her old albums to drive down the value of her own masters.
I mean, I definitely appreciated her more as a businesswoman from telling that story and understanding like how she did that. And then also like using this platform to launch that album, which like, I'm not a huge fan of her music, and I'm going to listen to every single song. And I can't remember the last time that I listened to a full album. So it's like, she's got me. Like, she got me completely.
You're now
She is
onboarded.
a media. I do think she's a media genius, and I say that without any exaggeration. I became aware of this. I know I've mentioned it on the show before, but it's germane. When I was at Fox Business, one of the stories that we covered, and the media ecosystem is such that by the time you get to cable television news, you're not breaking the story. You're just scouring other websites that stole information from a lower website. Like, it's just it's this horrible food chain of information where you're going on like the Drudge Report or Yahoo News, and you're just desperately groping for any story that seems good. And celebrity stories are great. And one of the stories was that Taylor Swift's legs have been insured for $25 million. And it mentions whatever firm it is, some British firm that does it. And then, I look into the story, and, reporters contacted Taylor Swift, who very politely demurred and said, I don't know where this came from, but I'm very flattered that anybody would think my legs are worth that much. The answer, where did this come from, is your PR people did this. That's the only way this would have entered the media ecosystem. There's no scenario where someone just goes, I bet her legs are insured for $25 million. I'm going to write a story about this. No, her people planted that because her people are brilliant. She's brilliant. She's really, really good at being able to dominate the media cycle.
How do you know they planted it?
Who else would do it?
If you are asking the
you
question,
don't.
who does this benefit? It's only 2 people. It's either Taylor Swift or the insurance company. And at which point the insurance company probably has more liability to be caught doing it than Taylor Swift does.
But do I buy that someone would just make that up in order to go viral? Like, yes, I believe that.
It's
I do.
possible, but I saw a lot of stories like this. Like, I've also mentioned this one before. There was a story in 2015 where it was like at a Politico or something. And it's like, you've probably wondered if Joe Biden's hair is real or hair plugs. Well, we went and talked to his barber. It's like, no, that's the Biden
No one's
team
worried
planting
about it.
that information. They made it sound like they'd gone looking for, it's like, you didn't go looking for his barber. Somebody from the Biden team planted that information. So, but I think that they're very good at it. I think she's very, very, very good at media. And I do think she's very business savvy. I respect that about her.
It is her skill at media that has led people, including me, to believe that this relationship was something that was possibly more orchestrated than it was organic. And so I ask you, Heaton, coming into it totally raw, without any kind of precondition, is the reason why you reacted to their happiness like a vampire seeing sunlight because you thought it was real, or because you thought it was fake?
I thought it was cloyingly amped up, which I found irritating. I don't think that the emotions that were on display were false. I think that
Yeah.
they were exaggerated for public showing, which I get.
Yeah.
Because if I go on a TV show, or if I'm on stage and I'm doing a Q&A or something like that, boy, am I glad to be there. The guy that said the joke to me on the microphone, he's 40% funnier when I'm on stage than when I'm in a room by myself. And like, so I was saying, just everything's been amped up so much that I was like, oh God, I get it. You love each other. Thank you. I get the memo.
I'm curious as content creators, because you kind
Yeah.
of said that, Andrew, I'm looking at you here, that you weren't all that moved by her story of getting her music back. For me, I mean, I've done Congressional Dish now for 12 years, and I guess Taylor's on her 12th album, which I learned because TS12, whatever. But if you take the equivalent and make those years, if I didn't own the first 6 years of Congressional Dish and someone else had the power to decide what happens to those, that would bother me. And so to hear that like it bothered her, and then she actually did things to get it back, including like sending in her mother and her brother, which I do think, again, another stroke of genius, to not send in her business people, but to appeal to the emotions of these, you know, vampires in private equity firms. Like she figured out how to get to the humans there. Like, couldn't you identify at all with like, you're creating a thing like Political Orphanage? You've worked for other companies, but Political Orphanage is yours. And if you didn't own it, wouldn't that bug you?
Depends on the scenario. So
Well,
like,
he does have a lot of stuff that he doesn't own, right? Like
Yeah.
you don't own any of something's off. You don't own any of the reason stuff.
I don't
But
know
is
him as the reason
anything
stuff.
like Political Orphanage
No,
is
but
100% yours?
I think the equivalent for me would be my books. And
Okay,
the answer
yeah.
is I would have loved to have had that deal. I mean, like from a publishing perspective, the deal that a publishing house would make with me is you're not a big name. This is at the beginning. You're not a big name. So we are going to take a risk on you. We're going to pay you for the book. And we're going to pay you X amount, but we're going to keep the copyright, which is typically how it works with publishers. When you get big, you become Stephen King, J.K. Rowling, you renegotiate. But I mean, that's the deal you make is I'm going to get this massive distribution platform. I'm going to get a huge amount of advertising, neither of which I can provide. And in exchange for that, you're going to have the copyright and I'm going to be paid royalties on it. Deal. Would have done that on any of my books. All of that sounds grand to me.
And it
Yeah.
didn't sound to me like she regretted doing that in the past, but the fact that she got to a level of success that she was able to then get her rights to it. I just think it's kind of a beautiful thing to see someone get so successful that like the downside of those original deals, she was able to wipe that away all those years later. I just found it to be really cool and to see how much it meant to her because her work is so personal.
Yeah.
Like her work is more personal than Congressional Dish is to me because at least there's this separation that I'm talking about Congress. Like I'm not talking about my relationships. I'm not talking about my exes and I'm not leaving all that out on the table for the whole world to digest. So for her to get something so personal, to get full control over it and to be happy about it, like as a content creator, I was really happy for her. And I'm just kind of surprised that there was kind of a mess.
I don't think that he would be connected to it because part of it is what Taylor Swift is amazing at is narrative. She's great
because
at saying,
you're describing a copyright transition in effect.
Yeah.
Like she purchased her copyright of her music. I realize it's a master's. That's the term I'm familiar with, which is all fine, by the way. My guess is that there were two phenomena going on. There was the emotional phenomenon, and there was probably a financial element going on as well. I think her being an extremely savvy businesswoman, that she is determined that it is worth whatever amount it was, several $1 billion that she paid.
hundreds of millions, I believe.
Hundreds of millions. But it was probably worth it to her to do that financially as well. That wouldn't make a good story. So you only talk about the emotional thing. I think both are probably true.
That's where the guy that bought her masters initially, who was a villain to her, is Justin Bieber's old manager, Scooter Braun, bought him. She hates him. He hates her. There was all that went into it. This was also at a time where she was kind of on the outs. She had a low point in her career as her on again, off again nemesis, Kanye West, had released a song called Famous, where the lyric on his song was, I feel like me and Taylor might still have sex. Why? I made that bitch famous. And she was very upset about that. She kind of, Kim Kardashian at that time at a high point in her personality, labeled her a snake, and snake emojis became a big thing. Then her masters get sold. So she had this. And again, the only reason why I put all these things together is because she's put all these things together. She has created a narrative where the character had to get knocked out of the tree by the end of the second act, only for her to rise on this grand scale like she has, with the rest of her career. Can we talk about James Comey?
So creepy.
You never asked.
Did you guys see him waxing poetic about Taylor Swift?
Sure did. Yeah, that guy is not charismatic. Because I watched it after finishing. Like I went straight from watching Travis and Taylor, and Jason. Like, how do you not love Jason Kelsey? So it's like I watch these incredibly charismatic people who I just like so much. And then there's James Comey with his eyes, like, I don't know if he was wearing goggles or something, but his eyes were like super white and he was like a robot. And yeah, that was very uncomfortable to watch. And I think it was just uncomfortable because he's not charismatic. I don't find it disturbing in any way, but yeah, funny.
We need to check on Comey. Didn't he get into hot water like a month ago because he wrote what was it?
8647.
8647, like using seashells on the beach. And that got turned into, he is literally calling for people to assassinate President Trump. Which is, I looked at that and I was like, sad retired man spelling out political messages on beach. That was my interpretation of that particular thing.
If I'm correct, and I might not be, but I think he saw it and shared it. I don't think he actually put the shells down.
He found a naturally occurring shell formation. I will eat my fucking hat if he did not put those things down himself.
Yeah. It was interpreted, I think, in bad faith, as in he was trying to push for an assassination. Because like as a restaurant worker, when you're out of hamburgers, you 86 it from the menu. You're not trying to murder the fucking hamburger. But
I think there was you should fucking know better when you used to head the organization that would run down these kinds of things. You should fucking know better.
Agreed.
Here's all I want to say. I'm glad that J. Edgar Hoover died before he could march in a pride parade. Like there are some figures in American politics that we don't need to know any more about. James Comey, you affected multiple elections. You affected the first term of Trump's presidency. No more from you. Like, we don't need any new fiction books. We don't need you on Colbert. We don't need your creepy, dead-eyed Taylor Swift stuff. I don't need to know any more. Like, the more I know about you, the more desperately uncomfortable I am that you were the director of our federal domestic law enforcement. I am terrified that you were the head of it because you are a deeply unserious, weird person. And no matter, it actually has made me feel better that Kash Patel is the FBI director, if only because how much worse? Like that was the guy I thought was a steely-eyed, the cowboy of all cowboys, the honest pilgrim who's going to make sure that law and order is delivered to Americans. And it turns out he's a goofy fanfic Swiftie. Like, who can't shut his mouth, who doesn't have the dignity to just shut up and leave the stage.
See, this is good because I feel like I'm the most likely to hang out with old has-been white guys. And so wouldn't surprise me that much if I'm at some event with James Comey. Now I got something to talk to him about where I'll go up and be like, I have thoughts on how copyright transitions work between venture capitalists and artists, a la Taylor Swift. Do you? I bet you he does. We can have a chat about that now. The trick, when you talk to celebrities, the trick is talk to them about something they're interested in that they don't normally get to talk about. I'm using the term celebrity very loosely in this context.
Celebrity is another, look.
Andrew, how'd that work with Rudy Giuliani?
It was a great story, wasn't it? Wasn't it fun? I don't regret anything about that.
Would you like to tell it?
Oh yeah, I think I mentioned this before, but at the Republican National Convention about this time last year, the America's Mayor had something of a fall from grace. He was not hanging out in the gold-plated VIP lounge behind the Secret Service threshold. He was doing a podcast with an assistant in the podcasting slum with the likes of the folks
The
that you're
Young
listening to
Turks
right now.
He put him.
Yeah.
They put him next to the Young Turks.
Yeah, and I had met actually Justin and I had jointly met his assistant when we were doing the New Hampshire primary prior to that, because we were at a cigar lounge. This guy came in and we talked to the guy and he said, I work for Rudy Giuliani. So I recognized him. I went up and I was like, hey man, I think it is really good when you talk to famous people about something that they enjoy discussing that is not something they're asked about regularly, because they get excited that they get to step into a different zone. So for that reason, I would love it while I'm here at the Republican National Convention if I could talk to Mayor Giuliani about cigars. I am told that he is a cigar aficionado. I think that would be really funny I'm saying this is mostly in my head. It'd be really funny on my show if my trip to the Republican National Convention ended up with just me discussing cigars with Rudy Giuliani. I would love that. The guy was very nice. Like, yeah, we're going to make it happen. Don't worry about it. And I kept grabbing him and I'm like, it really will just take 5 minutes, if that. It doesn't have to. And we couldn't get him. Finally, as the night concludes and we're all done and we're all going home, I see Giuliani in a golf cart and I walk up and go, hey, do you have any advice for me on cigars? And he goes, no, I'm not going to give you advice on cigars. Who the fuck are you? No, I'm not going to talk to you about cigars. And I was like, fair. First of all, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. You don't know who I am. I'm just some weirdo walking up to you talking about cigars. I actually don't blame you for that. But yeah, no regrets. If I'd gone up and been like, I want to talk to you about indictment, I kind of think it would have gone the same way.
Yeah, just a hard no.
Hard no. Hard no from America's mayor.
Yeah, so not sure about that strategy.
I mean, it was the end
so
of the
funny.
con too.
I know.
He was taking his last shot before the clock ran out.
Well, and earlier that day, I was hanging out with the Young Turks, and Giuliani was sitting in the corner of his booth facing the wall for like 45 minutes. It was really weird. And we're all
He's
just
an
like,
iPad
is he
kid.
okay? There was no
he
iPad.
just sits on his iPad
That's
all day.
not what was happening. It was just
Really?
him and the wall. It was weird. And we were
You
all
didn't see
looking
an
at it.
iPad?
No, you don't think that we checked? We were standing there just being like, what's going on with Giuliani? We're like looking at different angles. He was just staring at the wall for a very weird amount of time. So the
That
man
makes
was
sense.
having a day. It was,
That man's been having a few years.
yeah.
Maybe
Ever
a
since
decade.
his face melted, he's
Yeah.
been off.
That was a bad time for him.
Yeah.
Bad time for old Rudes. All right. So there we go. Taylor Swift. I do think their relationship is real now. I wasn't sure.
100%.
And now I think it's real. You really don't see the difference, Heaton, between Amal and George Clooney and Travis Swift and Jason Kelsey?
Well,
You don't see those as two different archetypes?
I love this analysis, Justin. It has caught me flat-foot, as I did not see this coming, right? I kind of thought what we were going to do was me and Jen would argue about venture capitalists, VR firms. I sort of assumed this was going to be Jen and I ginned up to fight about contract law. So I didn't see this coming. When I think of the conservative arguments that I see online in favor of gender roles, the flashpoints that I see tend to be more stark, and it tends to be the so-called trad cons of wife stays home, has kids. I think the whole thing's kind of silly to begin with, by the way, because the concept that all the women in America stayed at home and had kids in the 1950s is statistically not true anyway. We already had a huge amount of women in the workforce, and just historically over the last 1,000 years, most women worked too. Like you go back to agrarian England, and they were doing jobs, they were gleaning, there were all these different things. So I've always kind of thought it was a bit odd, but they don't strike me as tradcon. So that might be why you're not seeing the conservatives try to claim it. Is if Taylor Swift said, like,
she talks about how happy she is to be not working and instead just looking up sourdough recipes so she can make bread and send it to her friends and sew children's purses for her prospective nieces.
One would hope that any conservative grifter commentator with worth his or her salt would note that she was definitely working on that podcast. That was not just a social call. She was, in fact, promoting stuff. So, if she were to say, I'm just not ever going to work again because I think my place is in the kitchen, I think you'd see a lot of commentary on that. I do see what you're saying, though, about the traditional gender roles kind of reasserting themselves, but I don't think that the traditional gender roles were ever that that's starkly separated within like the Democratic and Republican camps. Like you have these flashpoints in society of like, should we have gay marriage or not? That kind of thing. But like even the majority of Democrats then and now are still heterosexual couples. You still see a lot of that. So that is just not an angle that necessarily hit me, nor do I see it as signifying a huge shift. I think that hot girl likes hot guy is probably something we're going to see for a while. I don't see that really changing. I don't think that ever really went away. So I don't see it as like hearkening a sea shift culturally.
I mean, I will say that two of the ways that I saw a vibe shift that I thought presaged Trump winning, because as Andrew Breitbart once said, pop culture, politics is downstream of pop culture, was A, this relationship, and B, Kendrick Lamar eviscerating Drake in a rap battle. I thought both of those presaged.
Why Lamar? Because I saw that this year.
Because,
hold on. Would have been later.
Yeah, that was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It was before the election.
Yeah.
The dynamics of the Kendrick Lamar Drake feud were truth teller versus hit maker. Like, I own pop culture was Drake's position. You are unsuccessful. You are unworthy of my time was Drake's position. And you're a fraud. And you are a pedophile. The pedophile thing probably doesn't translate 1-to-1, but the idea of clarion truth can beat somebody who is unbeatable is very much from a conservative point of view. All of conservative media is you liberals hold the keys to power in media, but the people can say the truth and change things. That is every version of conservative media. You don't have to believe it, but that is the narrative from which conservative media flows through.
Yeah.
That was a 1-to-1 version of that. And the public decided not only is Kendrick right, he should play the Super Bowl to call Drake a pedophile. And then I found out that Kamala also grew up in Canada and she was half black. And I was like, oh no, this is a wrap.
She grew up in Canada? I didn't know that.
Partly. Yeah. So yeah, those were the two things, and partly, again, none of these things are conservative coded, so you never really saw them talked about in conservative media as like, oh, this is a thing. And so either I'm just psychotic and I am just finding things that aren't there and talking about them, fully possible, or I'm brilliant and I can read the cultural tea leaves better than anybody in the world.
I think that's entirely true. I think that, Justin, I think that you are the best in the business at explaining the politics of what's going on and the optics and the tactics and the strategy. So I don't doubt that there's some very, very astute insights there.
Hey, even Tesla fell in love with a pigeon, man. Name one genius that ain't crazy.
Okay. I'm not dignifying this with a response.
Jen.
Patreon.com/we're not wrong.
All I'm trying to do is just get through without him realizing I only watched about 30 minutes before I turned it off and went to go talk to some drunk South Africans at a pub. I couldn't fucking stand the whole goddamn thing. So I'm just trying to cover my bases here, Jen. Okay. Let's just I'm gonna flatter him a little bit more. Let's move on.
So Travis and Taylor aren't gonna be your happy place?
Oh my God.
When we started this, we agreed an hour of research. That was a 2-hour podcast.
You can hit fast forward. You can do it at 2x speed.
I looked up.
Next week we're doing price controls, like, just so you know. Next week, all 3 segments on price controls.
I was like, God, this is tedious. So I looked up like a BBC synopsis of it, and I was like, it's just as tedious as I thought. There's a whole section on how she likes sourdough.
Yeah.
And over on my end, I'm like, this is the best assignment I've ever got. This was great.
By the way, speaking of Super Bowls, there is a theory that all of her talk about sourdough is a hint that she's going to be playing the Super Bowl this year.
That it's an Easter egg. I saw that too.
In San Francisco.
Yeah. There were quite a few clues in there if you are a Swiftie with no life who analyzes this shit. Yeah. So if they're right, that would be cool. I think she'd be an excellent Super Bowl.
I think it'd be better than Kendrick Lamar, who played a lot of shit off an album that came out like 2 months before the Super Bowl, so it had a lot of people kind of scratching their head. Taylor Swift has enough hits that everybody has heard on the radio to make a very good Super Bowl.
I think she would crush.
Patreon.com/we're not wrong. This week, we will be talking about late night cheese and whether or not Heaton would give it up to never have a nightmare again. This is a real study that eating late night cheese gives you nightmares. If there is one person for whom I know eats the most late night cheese, it is Andrew Heaton, and he has to make a gut-wrenching personal decision on the Patreon episode.
And I'm not going to tell people the mental gymnastics that I'm doing that will come out in the bonus episode. What I will say is I fucking house that cheese. Like Justin's probably, I have multiple friends that I will buy wedges of Jarlsberg cheese that I will eat like a goddamned rat. I don't even put it on a cracker. I just get a block of cheese and gnaw on it while I watch television.
And we've solved the mystery of why you're single.
If there are two things that make me worry
Andrew,
about my
joke.
friend Andrew Heaton, it is the level and rhapsodic description of his cheese consumption and how he looks at a happy couple and goes, stop it.
Yes, he's gnawing on cheese. Like, oh, fuck these people.
Like, boo, be more unhappy. Nom, 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 nom. Just crumbs falling on his beard.
That's so gross.
MSNBC is rebranding as MS Space Now. That is short for my source for news, opinion, and the world. By the end of 2025, it's part of Comcast's spinoff of cable networks into a new company, Versant. The change severs ties with the iconic NBC Peacock logo, which NBC Universal will retain. Network leadership is led by Rebecca Cutler and Mark Lazarus and frames it as a step toward independence and a fresh identity, reinforced by hiring dozens of journalists and launching a major marketing campaign. This rebranding has been mocked roundly by many people online, including BS Now, as well as other remarks for their awkward name and flag-themed logo.
Why
More likely, MS Now either rebrands again by the next presidential election in 2028, or they don't exist at all.
Well, as an unfuckable cheese gobbler, I love MSNBC.
Another nickname. Another nickname. The Yankee Doodle Panther. The unfuckable cheese gobbler. Ladies and gentlemen, Andrew Heaton.
The AI images that are going to come in for this, I cannot wait.
This is what flummoxes me a little bit about this. I get rebranding. In fact, I get rebranding a lot. Why keep the MS though? They're going to great pains to maintain the MS if they're redefining the acronym as my source of news and something.
What did the MS stand for to begin with?
Microsoft initially. Microsoft has been out of this venture since 2005. They divested from MSNBC in 2005. And so it was kept on as a legacy thing since then. But now that they are rebranding, they are keeping the MS, but not the NBC. They can't.
That's the bit that froze me there is like the rebranding actually makes a lot of sense to me that they would do that. But like I would just whole cloth rebrand if I were going to do that. Like MS Now sounds like they're falling down the stairs and they're trying to catch themselves at each new level, right? But if they like it's taken, Rumble's pretty good. Rumble's a good name. Rumble implies that, it's going to be gritty and there's going to be, a lot of fighting and whatnot. So MS Now, I find that weird. I think that the whole cable television news model is on its way out. And as somebody that worked in it, I kind of welcome this development. I think Fox will hold on longer, and I think they've been pretty savvy about being able to rebuild what they're doing. Fox is putting a lot of effort into building up its online protocols, its online platform identity, because they know that cable television's on its way out, and so they're actively building the life rafts so that when the HMS Uncle Rupert finally sinks into the Atlantic, they'll be able to continue this online platform. But overall, though, I don't think that it's a model that is particularly useful. I I think the energy when it comes to political media in particular tends to be a lot more personality driven than institutional at this point. And so if I were them, I would have just redefined it as something and I would have gone in a different direction. But as it is, it sounds to me like a kind of defeat. Like they're having to I realize they're not filing Chapter 9, but it sounds that way to me. We're no longer Cutco. We're Cutco 2. Very different.
Yeah.
In answer to your question, they'll limp on because there's still going to be cachet behind the name. A lot of these big names, even if like the Washington Post is eventually just one computer server and 5 employees and a bunch of AI.
Yeah, but they're getting rid of the name.
Yeah, there's
Washington Post.
No.
Oh yeah, no.
MSNBC isn't going to have the name anymore. It's going to be Miss
Then
Now.
why bother? Yeah, I don't get it. I think that this is an odd play, and so I don't know.
The names they still have are Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes. Like that's what they have. That's the
For how long?
I mean, I've heard nothing about them going anywhere. So, I mean, for me, I don't really care what the name is. This reminds me a lot of HBO Max becoming HBO. But like, as long as the shows are good, I don't give a shit what you call it. I feel the same here. I care about not the branding, but the product. And for me, I lost trust in the product. And so as long as you still have, like Rachel Maddow is a problem for me. And she's a real disappointment because when she was a podcaster, I was a big fan of her. I learned a lot from her back in the W. Bush years. And then she went to NBC, and during the first Trump administration for 2 years, she told us that the president of the United States was a Russian asset and went down some real rabbit holes and never apologized for any of it, even when an official investigation said it wasn't true. And she's still the name on that network. So I don't really trust. I also don't trust the decisions they've made in pushing out Cenk Uygur and Mehdi Hasan because they were both doing really good work. And because they didn't fit into the narrative that channel decided to tell, because I know like Cenk was anti-establishment and talking about class war stuff. They didn't like that. And like Cenk has been very open with saying like, I was pushed out because I was told we are the establishment. So that really bothered me. And then Mehdi Hasan was doing really good work. He was the only one doing good work on cable news when it came to covering what was happening in Gaza, and they fired him as well. So it's like, I don't trust the product. And so I don't care what you call it, as long as that is the group of people that's in charge. And I see no changes in that regard of like letting people do the stories they want to do. You can call it whatever you want. I'm still not tuning in regularly.
I do really like "We Are the Establishment" as the motto.
Yeah.
That would actually be a really cool motto. I like that. Yeah, I don't really know MSNBC that well, to be honest with you. I did not have the same emotional arc or journey with them that Jen has had. But I'll say last year when I was doing Judge Week on the show and I was going through some really high-profile Supreme Court decisions, I wanted to make sure that my legal analytical diet was covering all the bases. And so I read the decision specifically on presidential immunity and was trying to make sense of it. I didn't come in swinging either direction because I am pretty good about interpreting the law as I think it is meant to be interpreted, as opposed to arriving at a preordained conclusion of whether I think it's conservative or progressive or whatever. Watching their analysis, I was not really blown over. There was a hell of a lot of panic. And they were saying, and like what floored me was these, like Rachel Maddow's a trained attorney, is she not? Like, doesn't she have a law degree?
I know she's a Rhodes Scholar. I don't know.
Yeah, she's smart,
very, very, very,
she's very
smart
intelligent.
woman.
And it was like just you can as I recall, I think I was opposed to that decision. I didn't have nearly the same apocalyptic level of umbrage with the decision that
there was a king.
MSNBC
it had king people.
But I read it and went, yeah, I think I'm with the dissent on this one. At the time, I've reworked my position a little bit based on some conversations I've had with my defense attorney Paul. But I keep him in my back pocket in New York. That way I can swing my dick around whenever I'm up there. He's a great guy, Paul Townsend. Mm-hmm. But like listening to them, like I knew, like the way these laws work, it is still illegal to give a bribe. Like when you get into the case law of presidential immunity, you can say like, for example, the president has 100% total immunity to do appointments. You can't legally impugn the president for picking somebody. That's completely their prerogative. They're allowed to do it. What they can't do is accept a bribe. So you
Yeah.
can, in the same way that you cannot prosecute me as a jury member based on how I rule, but you could prosecute me as a jury member if I took a bribe to reach at that decision. You're not prosecuting the decision. And I realize this is splitting hairs, but it's worth pointing out if you're going to go apocalyptic on that. And they were going apocalyptic, and they were saying stuff that, like, I, with very little constitutional knowledge, was going, well, that I'm pretty sure is a big misstep. So it kind of, I went, yeah, I don't think I missed a lot, and I've not watched them since then.
Yeah. I think that the large scale trends that Heaton was pointing out are correct, that this is not a great time to be in cable. This is not a great time to be in cable news. The reason why I question how long that bold-faced name talent is going to be there is because I think they're going to look to try to fit a footprint that is not commensurate with the talent, what the talent is going to want to get paid. That the talent in general in television only gets paid more. Every cycle, they are renegotiating for more money. It would not shock me if television starts to have the same situation that newspapers had back in the early aughts, which is that the first people to go to get buyouts were the biggest contracts, because that was the fastest way to take to try to balance the budget of what stuff is. And especially when the ratings aren't good, it's ridiculous to pay a lot of money for people that are getting trounced in the ratings. You might as well put a nobody up there because they can get bad ratings for a lot cheaper. So the MS Now rebrand, to me, says this is going to get sold for parts soon. And it's going to be easier to sell. Actually, Jen, you want to know what it reminded me of? When the Washington Redskins couldn't be the Redskins anymore, and so they named it the football team. Like that's what this reads to me, is that I don't know. They might as well have called it
Estab would have been a good name. Estab.
Yeah. Or it just the television channel. Television News.
Yeah.
That's what it should have been called. It should have been called Comcast Television News. Flavored television news. That's it. Because that's pretty much what it is. I don't think that a lot of those people are going to be there. I joked on Twitter that it might as well be called login.substack.com for all of the talent, because spoiler alert, that's where they're headed.
What's funny on that note, though, I've tiptoed into Substack because I lack the moral fortitude that Justin has, who's jumped in feet first. And I'm playing around in that world now, and I like it. I like it a lot, right? I like that I've got all these different people that I like that I can follow. And somebody that I was talking to was like, I really like it, but I wish somebody could bind them into one source that I could read. And I'm like a magazine? Like the thing that it just replaced? Yeah, I see your point. Yeah, okay.
Jen, apropos of nothing, I need you to look at your phone. Because while we were doing the show, somebody sent pictures of me as a troll, something that you have referred to me.
That's pretty good. It's very hulky.
Yeah.
Incredible.
It kind of makes my mustache look like tusks, which I like, which is almost more orc-like if we're going to get really nerdy, fantasy level nerdy.
Yeah.
Although
so less a troll, more an orc, but I really like it.
Honest about it, like when I call you a troll, I'm thinking more of one that's like under a bridge, but also has the troll doll hair.
Oh, okay. So vertical hair.
Yeah.
Can I swing back a little bit to the cable television thing, and why I think it's also on its way out?
Please do.
Different mediums are interacting with different levels of intimacy. So radio's for your car. Radio lives in your car. Podcasts, we live in your head. A lot of the people that are listening to this right now are probably listening to their car, but a lot of people have it on headphones right now, and we're listening to you, and the dynamics are different. So like with television's coming into your living room. Like television was sort of envisioned as like it's replacing your hearth. You will now gather around the TV rather than your hearth, and that will be kind of the center of it. But it's going to have a little bit of glam, a little bit of showbiz to it, and you're watching a panel. And like podcasts tend to have a buddy dynamic that's more elusive in television. We're doing that. We're substantive, but we definitely have the buddy dynamic. Podcasts excel at that, and YouTube is this very, very you and I are personal friends. I'm getting ready to go out. I'm doing my makeup and I'm going to do it right up in the camera so that you can feel that. And I think that is in particular what the upcoming generation that doesn't have a television wants. The direction that media is going is much more personal, individualistic, and intimate. And TV's not good at capturing that. And so for MS now to try to like pivot, I don't see it happening.
You know,
what I'm saying is Rachel Maddow should do makeup shows is what I'm saying.
Heaton, you didn't get to this part of the Taylor Swift podcast, but you talked about how her favorite number is 13 a lot. She's a big numerologist.
Oh, yes.
I think they should just rebrand to cater to Swifties. MS-13.
I like that. That's good. Yeah. Good call. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into
News with a Taylor Swift bend and face tattoos. Yeah. I don't think it's not going great. Although, like, I do wonder where, if you lose MSNBC, that was a huge clearinghouse of Democratic Party information. Like when Joe Biden wanted to talk to the largest clearinghouse that the party faithful all paid attention to, it was Morning Joe on MSNBC. And so if there are larger problems there and they do start shedding talent, it'll be curious to see where do Democrats go to find out what
I'm kind of making fun of this, but it might be that Harry Sisson puke. That maybe he'll be the guy. But
that's not what older Democrats are paying attention to.
God, let's hope not.
Who's that?
But it'll be more individualistic, right? It'll be a person that's setting them. And I think Harry Sisson, by the way, do you know who I'm talking about, Jen? We've talked about him once previously, but you fortunately were able to lobotomize the memory from yourself. I have not. He is an
influencer, a Gen Z influencer. We made
you know all the waifish rat-faced fucks that Taylor Swift broke up with? Imagine that as a hack on Twitter, and you get that kid.
Who talked about how great Joe Biden was doing until he got replaced, and then he got the new firmware update, and it was how great Kamala Harris is doing. He is just like loudly
he's carrying water for Gavin.
Showed me a clip. Yeah.
Okay. No, he got into trouble because a bunch of girls were like, "Hey, he tried to fuck us," and then didn't call us anymore, which was the most relatable, cool thing that has ever happened involving Harry Sisson.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be getting butt dials from the president of the United States. I'm going to take the position here of like, it's a name change. It's an ownership change. Rachel's not going anywhere. Chris Hayes isn't going anywhere. There's still a product. People still watch it, especially during like these anti-Trump times. I think it's just
their numbers are down.
Their numbers are always down. Like they're trying to compete.
That's a bit of a problem.
Yeah, that's a problem though.
But if the whole industry is going down, like it is what it is. Like I don't
Fox
know.
is weirdly up. I mean, like the trends in cable news.
Propaganda. So like,
but usually that's not the case
this is their
for them.
time to shine.
Usually it's the opposite. And
when Trump
won,
got elected, the thought process, because I was there at I left right after Trump got inaugurated. I think I left like a week after he got inaugurated. And at the time, Trump was not as enthusiastic at Fox as he is now. There were people that were early adopters, but a lot of people were not. And but kind of generally speaking, though, the general consensus was at the time that Fox did really well when Democrats were in office because they excelled at being the opposition. They excelled at look at the president fucking up. And that having a Republican in office would not be beneficial. That turned out to be wrong.
But this is a different thing. Trump isn't a normal Republican, and this isn't like the first Trump administration. There are like Fox became a feeder to the administration. You know, like we have a Fox News host as our Secretary of Defense. And I know I have never watched Fox News more than I've watched it in the last 8 months because I want to know what they're saying because it feels like it's coming direct.
And who's going to be the replacement when Pete Hegseth
in the White House? Like literally, yeah. So it's like I'm watching to be like, okay, like what is going on in MAGA world? Because it's a direct pipeline now. Like there is no daylight.
I got to buy it. It's so fucking bizarre for me because like I would like, I don't want to say I was friends with all these folks, but I would like, chat with them as I was stealing cheese in the green room.
Chums.
Yeah, I've been in the room with Kimberly Guilfoyle a few times, and I'm like, what? She's now in the Oval Office giving advice to the president. Janine Pirro is the Attorney General or whatever, the chief prosecutor for Janine Pirro is. Yeah, it's very strange.
It's very strange, but I think that's why it's different from the first Trump administration, because I can't be the only one that's tuning in, understanding that that's a propaganda network now, even more mask off than they were before. So I think
Trump's also more popular this time than he was in the first term.
See, I don't believe that. I don't know what polls you're seeing. I'm seeing ones that say the opposite. So it's like polls are bullshit.
Even the bad polls have him around where he was last time.
I don't buy it. But
the good ones have him in the high 40s. The bad ones have him in the high 30s.
I think Jen's right. None of my friends here in Scotland like high 40s. Obviously,
yeah, it doesn't sound
the high 40s is very good for a second term president. For a lame duck president, high 40s is.
Well, it just shows how low our standards have gotten. I feel like we want someone in upper 50% to say you're doing a good job. If we're counting the 40s as oh yeah, that's a high approval rating, then we need higher standards here in the United States. I think it could explain why we are the way we are. Yeah. But yeah, I don't.
Well, I mean, I think that this says more about cable news than it does about I don't think that if we are to just look at cable news ratings, it necessarily tells us the soul of the nation. I think it tells us where a certain substrate of voters age-wise are paying attention to. And it's saying that CNN and MSNBC, I think, lost credibility because they did not prepare their audience for Donald Trump to win the popular vote. And I think that even people who hate Donald Trump were like, well, I don't want to be gaslit. I'm here to hear about all the terrible things that Donald Trump is doing, but for the love of God, don't lie to me so much that I'm totally blindsided by the fact that he wins the popular vote.
So I actually disagree with that. I think one of the ways they've lost credibility is by spending their time trying to predict the future. Election day is election day. And by spending years running up to election day, reporting on polls and the horse race and not saying this is the news. This is what we do.
That's true.
We pay attention to the facts. We are better. It's the same critique I have of the Democratic Party, where it's we are going to go almost as low as the Republicans. And so you're looking and going, where are the good guys? And it's the same in media, because it's Rachel Maddow is going to all kinds of rabbit holes to try and tell us that the president is a Russian asset. You lose credibility when
yachts,
you do that stuff.
Look at the yachts. The yacht records tell the tale.
But this is what I'm saying. It doesn't. Yeah. It never did. No. And so they lost credibility in not following the facts and also predicting the future. The news is in the past. That's what you're supposed to cover. And they stopped doing that. So it's you have propaganda on one side when you have Fox News. I don't know where to get the news now. I know where to get screaming fights and predictions of the future, but I'm looking for straight up news. And I find that when I'm looking for that, I'm looking at the BBC. I'm not even looking in the United States. So I think that's the bigger problem with TV news right now in this country.
I would agree. And I would say that partly CNN specifically, I don't know about MSNBC, but the idea that all news just inherently morphed into political news, that was not necessarily the reality of how things used to be. If you wanted to know about a live thing that was happening, you would turn on television cable news because they were always on and they had cameras where they would patch into live satellite feed to show you.
Yeah.
That doesn't have to be political. And yet it became, I'm reading this audiobook, Modern Political Campaigns, that'll be out soon when I finish it. And one of the consultants says, the biggest thing that changed in earned media is that you used to have to gun in the 80s for the 5 minutes an hour that they would cover politics. Now, 60 minutes an hour covers politics on television news. So it's easier to get things on there. It's easier to get your politically weaponized message out to television audiences because the networks wanted it, which says the people wanted it on some level.
Yeah, when it comes to news, the last time that I turned on the television and was I need news right now is when I saw that there was a large earthquake off of Russia and that there was talk of a tsunami. I had seen it on, X Twitter. And so I turned on cable news thinking I am sitting on the ocean right now. I would like to know that this happened and like just have it on in the background. And it was all political debates. And so I ended up on the Weather Channel to get that information. And the Weather Channel actually does news. This is the weather. This is the, they have to predict the future, but they're predicting it like with the models. But for the most part, it's like, this is where the flood was yesterday. This is where the earthquake just happened.
Yeah.
Like they're doing actual news in a way that I no longer can trust that CNN is going to tell me what's happening right now, and I think that's the real shame of it. And the first network to figure that out and to go back to doing actual news will have me as a customer.
I think they're all just going to go out of business.
I do
to
too.
be honest with you.
Yeah.
I will also say that I don't know whether or not they'll try for the midterms, but if we were to list the top contracts at MSNBC, Joe Scarborough, Mika Brzezinski, Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes, I would say 2 out of those 4 are probably gone by at least the end of 2026.
Well, I mean, Rachel's only working on Mondays now anyway, and she's the most expensive.
Yeah.
And she's the one that I
probably
distrust
gone.
the most. So, I mean, she's the one I would cut, but like, they don't listen to me. So,
Yeah. And then I think it's going to be a package deal when Joe and Mika go. I don't think one would go and the other would stay.
yeah, aren't they married now?
They are.
Okay. Yeah.
And they record from Palm Beach and their shot is framed like you're on an awkward dinner with your new girlfriend's parents. Like they're just kind of like both like at the table, like staring at you, and they're like very opinionated about things. And you're just like, I don't know. We met in college. We're Not Wrong Pod at gmail.com is where you write in to the show. Only in Dreams writes, I had a dream that Jen and Joe were getting a divorce. It felt like Jen initiated said divorce, but Joe accused Jen of watching AI porn and having an AI boyfriend.
This is a weird one. I can tell you, Joe and I are not getting a divorce. I could not possibly be happier with my marriage. But
by omission.
here's the but. Is AI porn, and this is where I feel stupid because you guys are gonna be like, of course, but like, is AI porn already a thing, or is this a future that's coming?
Jen. There is not a technology that has been invented that one of the first things that happened is dudes found a way to jerk off with it.
But where do
Literally.
you find it? Like
The Telegraph, somebody was squirting. Like every technology that has come, the first thing that happens is dudes whacking it.
But does like
Of course.
Pornhub have an AI tab now? Like, where do you physically go?
I don't
wouldn't
know
even know
because
where
it's
to find
banned
it.
by the state of Texas. So
You
I don't
have
know
a
about
VPN.
Pornhub. I don't know. I don't know about Pornhub. I do know that there are plenty of websites where you can enter in whatever you would like to see, and it will generate AI video of such frivolity.
Well, it looks like I'm on my way to a divorce then, because
Because Jen's got some prompts
yeah, I'm ready to go.
and time on your hands now that you're out of the house.
Travis Kelce.
Let's talk about the DC federal police takeover. If a Molotov cocktail is thrown in the woods, right? I wonder for some if the National Guard's presence in Los Angeles is suffering the same fate as many a successful project. They were there to prevent the trashing of federal property. No federal property was trashed. Mission accomplished or unnecessary. I have a hard time believing that there wouldn't have been attempts to burn, deface, etc. federal property without the presence of the Guard. Doesn't matter that they were looking at their phones. They were there to be present and able to respond. It gives me a flashback to Y2K, where all we hear now is how overblown the concerns were when they only felt that way due to the massive effort of IT staff to make sure it wasn't an issue.
So this out of all the emails that we got, this is the one that it reminds me of when I was wrong before the election, because I had more faith in the Republican Party than I should have. I actually made a bet and had to buy you guys a steak because I said that the Republicans wouldn't do this to us again. They wouldn't elect Trump, and yet they did.
Yeah.
And I have always felt like the American people were such rebels that we wouldn't just bend over and take it if we had someone that was like unnecessarily sending our military onto our streets, doing something that is so blatantly unconstitutional. And yet we get emails like this, which is telling me that like, oh no, Jen, people are willing to bend over and take it because this one is so clearly unnecessary. The Trump administration is being sued by the state of California because this was completely uncalled for. The LAPD had this totally under control. And this is one where it's like, you can't tell me I'm wrong on this because I was a resident of Los Angeles while all of this was happening. So this one scares me because it's like, oh no, people are going to bend over backwards to justify the unjustifiable. So I don't even know what to say to this dude. This isn't like an example of something being successful because it didn't happen. Or lady, whoever you are, you concern me because you are the type of person that allows us to march towards fascism with a smile. Like, I don't know what to do with this. So thank you for depressing me. There you go.
Juking the stats, right? I was surprised no one mentioned the fact that in May, a DC police commander was suspended for falsifying crime statistics, and the police union says it is common coming from the command structure. While it may not change minds on whether or not this is a good idea, I keep hearing the argument that DC crime is falling, so there is no reason to do this. I don't think that that is a statement that can be definitively made in light of this ongoing investigation.
I know I didn't mention it because I don't know what you're talking about. So
I read about that, but I don't know the ins and outs of it. So that was a thing. There was somebody within the DC department that was fudging the numbers. What one would assume because there's some kind of incentive structure there. Like people respond to incentives, right? So like what this is one of the issues where if you do quotas for police of like you need to have 2 arrests per day or something like that, you will find that police are now going to go arrest people for loitering that they would otherwise leave alone because they've now got to hit that number. So that I don't know about the situation. My guess is it's something like that. I did read about it, but I would be surprised if all of the crime rates are taken from that one report, or if they're all internal from the DC. Maybe they are.
But bigger picture, this is kind of another example of trying to be like, well, maybe it does make sense, and it's like, no, because we're at the point now that the DC National Guard is on the ground in DC. There are, I believe, 2 other states now that are sending their National Guard to DC. Like, we were in DC on Inauguration Day. If there's any day that's going to be scary, you would think that would be the one. It was fine. Like, DC, Andrew fucking lives there, and he's not afraid to be out in DC.
We did see a stolen car that ran into a bus right in front of our venue.
No one is saying that crime doesn't happen. I am saying that you don't need 3 states worth of National Guard to be policing our nation's capital.
Fair point.
And so let's not buy into this stuff. Like, this is, you have to call out of bounds when you see it. And I am seeing it here with Trump sending in the military, testing us to see if we're going to take it. And now we have 2 people here who are saying, yeah, they're going to take it because you're looking for ways to justify it. And I know that might make you feel more comfortable with what's happening. I don't think we should be comfortable with what's happening. I think the discomfort with it is the proper emotion here because it is not a proper response to what is happening in Washington, D.C., which is just...
What would be a proper response?
Well, right now, letting the city run the fucking city. I mean, there doesn't seem to be a reason to send in the military. That is crazy. So that's the
I'm with Jen on this. I'm probably a little bit less apocalyptic, or not, I don't want to say apocalyptic. I'm less bothered by it. However, I agree. Like I want Americans to feel uncomfortable when the military is involved in anything. In general, we should always go, do we need the military here for this? That should be the go-to for Americans, in my opinion.
Teenage Dream writes, in Chicago, it's common for adult gang members to coerce juveniles into their gangs by getting them to commit a crime, such as a murder, purposely knowing that the juvenile will get a lesser sentence because of being a minor. And when the kid gets out, he's set in the gang. It would seem to me all these gangs that exploit the law in such a way should be charged with RICO charges for breaking the laws in such a way to avoid punishment that they would get for doing it themselves. I'm really surprised that these gangs haven't been cracked down on yet.
Good point.
I think that would be exactly the kind of thing RICO laws were designed for.
Yeah.
I think RICO laws I get a little bit squirrely on because they always sound to me like collective guilt, which I'm worried about from a due process perspective. But I did not know that this was a practice. It sounds horrific and insidious, and taking advantage of the incentive structure that we've had. Yeah, like that seems to me like to be a good application of RICO. I wonder though, if is it merely that they're not applying RICO, or that they're unable to actually connect them? I don't know what the disconnect would be. My guess is that it's more of a being able to figure out the command structure of the gang and who's in it than just being willing to apply RICO charges to them.
Well, RICO is a very complicated case to apply. It has a higher failure rate unless you have the right people to back it. And we have had district attorneys in certain places with pretty high crime rates that have decided to apply RICO to people like Puff Daddy and Donald Trump and Young Thug instead of, some of these kind of guys. So, it is a conscious decision by the district attorney to undertake something like this. Like that is a big case that has a high failure rate. So you have to really go into it with eyes wide open. Congratulations brings us home on this. Though Nancy Reagan was famous for the Just Say No campaign, the war on drugs was actually declared by Richard M. Nixon on June 17, 1971. Over $1 trillion has been spent in the 54 years since then, and happily, the United States is now completely drug-free.
We did it, you guys.
Yay.
We did it. By declaring it illegal, we altered everybody's behavior in perpetuity.
Go us.
On Treatonomics, Disillusioned 20-something writes, passing up buying a new video game won't have any significant effect on our ability to save for a down payment, but it will provide at least a little fun to do after work. I bought a modest hot hatch instead of a 25-year-old shitbox of a car to make my commute to my garbage factory job a little more exciting. I pay for a Patreon subscription to my favorite podcast just to get a little extra something good to listen to in order to make my day at said garbage job more tolerable. I rent a room from some friends because I would probably need 2.5 to 3 times my current income to even qualify for the cheapest of my own housing within 30 miles of where I live, and my housemates need rent money to continue to afford the mortgage. Even though I really want to become a father someday, I'm a long way off from being able to start a family, and I'm almost 30. Might as well indulge in that Netflix subscription to get a little distraction from that fact. So it's why we get so angry when an older, more well-off, hardcore capitalist says to us, quote, you say you don't like our capitalist system and yet you have your iPhone. Checkmate, commie. It's just not how the numbers work.
I mean, I agree with that because back in the 1980s, luxuries were expensive and the basics were cheap. So it's like you could get a nice apartment for $500 a month, but your TV might be $3,000. Now that's inverted because now rent is $3,000, but the TV is like $500, if that. I think it's even cheaper than that at Costco.
Depending.
Yeah. So it's like back in the 1980s, if you had a couple of TVs, God forbid a computer, because those were super expensive, a portable phone, my God. I mean, that could be a couple years worth of rent. So like, yeah, that is irresponsible spending. Now, if you have a couple of TVs and a cell phone, you can have all of that shit for less than 1 month's rent. So things have really inverted for us in a way that I don't think boomers who have been in their houses since the 1980s can quite understand, because they have their houses paid off, or they were able to buy the house when it was A, affordable, B, the interest rates are lower. It's like, I think they do struggle, at least the ones that are comfortable, to understand how expensive healthcare is for us, how expensive our education is, the whole dynamic of student loans, which was not a thing at this level back then. I just think that there is a lot of older people not being able to identify with the struggles we have because their financial reality when they were our age was so different in a way that I think was better because the basics were affordable and luxuries were luxuries. Now that is completely flipped.
Heaton, everything was better at a bygone era, right?
I'm going to partially agree with this, and I'm going to partially disagree with this. So I agree that these are tough things to do. Like I'm doing pretty well in the places that I want to live. I can't buy a house in, at least not where I want to do it. Like I could, as a guy, I'm not sharing income with anybody. If I wanted to buy a place in Alexandria, where I live, or back in Austin near my friends, I would not be able to do it. And I've been sacking money away for 15 years, so I can't do it. So I relate to this in terms of the struggle that you're experiencing, which I think is real. The bit that I'll push back on is to borrow a tool from my friend and colleague Jen Briney. I think when we get into the labels here, we're wading into trouble. And that might be some of the pushback that you're getting when you say capitalism. So like I find that when people start getting mad at capitalism, a lot of the time what they really just mean is like anything about society I don't like, anything about modernity I don't like. My friend didn't drive me to the airport. Thanks, capitalism. And like, so for those of us that are older, I'm going to assume I'm older than you because you said you're what, in your early 30s or your 20s? So you'd be 20, right? So I'm older.
He's about to be 30.
Almost.
So I'm older than you. For those of us that have like a clear memory of the Cold War and a clear memory of the Soviet Union and what an evil the Soviet Union was, like when we hear people say things like capitalism's bad, we freak out because we're like, oh shit, you're going to upturn the apple cart and fuck everything up. And I also find that when people start saying that capitalism's bad, they don't actually mean socialism. They mean Europe. They don't really mean nationalizing things. The government controls the means of production. They mean, I wish I had a social safety net like in Europe, which let's have that conversation. I think that's a really good conversation to have. I think you'll avoid some of the problems that you're having with these older hardcore capitalists if you just say that. I wish things were cheaper, which is what you want, or things are difficult, which is fine, or I wish we had a different system, probably like Europe. But when you start saying like capitalism, that's when we go, oh shit. I think that this person's trying to get rid of a market economy and it's going to cause all these problems. With housing, which is a major problem, the biggest contributor to that is the fact that we artificially restrict the supply through zoning laws, and that drives up the price. That's an issue that's coming from government that we need to reform. Yeah, but that's there. And by the way, if you're interested in this, I did a special on housing policy on the political orphanage. I went through how other countries do housing policy. Turns out Cuba's socialist policy really wasn't very good. There are good combinations that do exist in Europe. They're still market economies, but they have different emphases of what they're trying to do in terms of social welfare and in terms of the tax structure. But just saying like, capitalism makes houses cost more. That's not what's happening, nor is it a particularly productive conversation to go down.
Well, and I also want to add to that because he also used the word commie in here, which is an insult I get thrown at me all the time. And it's like, that's another word, like communist, commie, that like people don't know what it means. They're just using it as an insult. So I feel like capitalist has become an insult, commies become an insult. And I think it's just not useful. And like you said, it derails the conversation we're having here, which is really about cost of living.
Yeah. Two things. Number one, Heaton, I'd be curious. I don't think it's something that you can snap judge, but something that you might want to noodle on. Palmer Luckey, the Oculus founder, now he's a weapons maker with Anduril, tweeted out a thing relative to the conversation from the first segment about urban crime, that one of the biggest restrictors on high density housing is that a lot of it exists in higher crime neighborhoods where people don't want to live. And if you were to have safer streets, it would actually unlock and probably bring apartment prices down, because those neighborhoods would become more desirable. And if those became more desirable, there is a soft restriction on urban housing specifically, which I thought was an interesting point of view.
I haven't thought about that in terms of housing. That is a salient observation in terms of other economic phenomena. So if you have high crime in a neighborhood, it's probably going to make all of the stuff you buy cost more. So like in inner cities, one of the issues that they have is groceries are going to be more expensive because of crime. Because there's higher crime, there's going to be more shoplifting, which means that there's going to be higher prices to compensate, or alternately, very likely, your grocery store, your bank, whatever the thing is going to have increased security guards that they're paying. So it ends up increasing it. So crime definitely raises the cost of it. I need to do research on the 80s, by the way. I did an episode on the 50s, and I don't think that we're
sequel.
Maybe I'll do it on the
sequel.
80s. Yeah,
in
the 50s, it is, I think, indisputable that college was cheaper in the 50s. Like, I won't push back on that at all. Like it was absolutely cheaper in the 50s. But like in the 50s, you actually had a lower rate of home ownership than you do now, including with young people. And it doesn't feel that way at all. But that's the reality in terms of the actual distribution. I would be surprised if the 80s was that different. But all the same, though, regardless of how we compare to other time periods, I do think that it sucks right now, and it is hard to get a house right now.
The one thing that I will say is, to Jen's point about the boomers who indisputably had, picked a pretty nice pocket to exist in terms of a lot of different cultural headwinds. The one that isn't true is interest rates. Interest rates were higher through
They were high in the
Yeah,
80s.
that's true.
Yeah. It's like 12%.
than they are now.
20%.
Which is like when both my brother and I bought houses, and I bought it at a ridiculous, like just fraudulent
Yeah.
interest rate of
2%,
like
1.5%,
1.75 or something.
Yeah.
My brother bought a little bit later, and it was a much higher interest rate. It was like 4.5. And I was like, geez, oh my God, 4.5. She's like, we bought our first house at 6.25. Like, shut up. You're babies.
But if I think about like, would I rather pay a 1% interest rate on a $500,000 house or a 10% interest rate on a $50,000 house? I'll take option 2. Thanks. So it's like the house being more affordable. I don't care what the interest rate was. Like, you're correct that I was wrong in saying that, because the interest rates they actually got really, really high there for a minute back then.
Yeah.
But like, you're buying houses where you could buy them in cash if you saved up. So it's like, we can't do that.
Yeah, but you're also making less. I mean, I think that there's a lot that goes into it. But anyway, I wasn't trying to invalidate your point. Just to
No, I
just
know
to
that.
add
And your
on to
point
it.
is actually well taken. I was wrong about that. So
One thing to our listener, man, you're good, dude. I was a mess. I was not really an adult until I was 30. Like, when you're in your late 20s,
it wasn't until I was 40.
boy, is it a terrible time. Like, your brain literally just stopped forming like 5 minutes ago. So now you have the full capacity of your brain to noodle on where you're at. Nestle in to everything that you're doing. The good news is this: your real earning potential begins in 3 years if you're 27. Like, that's when you really actually make money that you're going to want to save. You can fuck off your entire 20s. And as long as you roll into the 30s when people are actually going to start taking you seriously with a good resolve, you are tremendously upwardly mobile. When I was 30, I was living in Florida. I was renting a room. I did not have, I think I was dating Ashley long distance, but God knows where it was going to go. And then in 10 years, by the time that I turned 40, I was a homeowner and I was a year away from having a child. So it's like a lot can happen. 30s is a magical decade. It is a relic of a bygone era that a youth-centric culture believed that life ended at 30. That is
So
a
dumb,
ridiculous, fraudulent a concept. Brushwood once said, one of the truest things in my life, that your 30s are like your 20s with money. Everything you like to do in your 20s, you can do more of it because you're going to wind up making more money. Trust me, stay the course, good friend.
Yeah.
This is not the time where you want to judge your life. Judge your life in 5 years.
And I can say
Well
at
put.
43, I just feel like I became an adult in the last couple of years. And I think I'm fine with it. So yeah, you've got a long, awesome road ahead of you.
You're doing great.
And I feel like
hit
I
by a
became an
bus.
adult probably around 19, 20. And now I finally look the way I feel, and people give me less shit for wearing suits. So it all comes out in the wash.
Heaton has a projection to become an adult sometime in the next 15 to 30 years. At some point.
Well, he's Benjamin Buttoning. He was born an old man. Now he's getting younger.
Exactly.
I was,
know.
so I here in October, I've done the interview, but it's not going to be out till October. I just interviewed Katie Herzog on her new book. And at one point I
that's
brought
great.
up that, like,
Yeah, I like her.
yeah, she's really fun chat. I really like her. Like, one of the things, like, we were bantering, and I brought, like, when I was in high school, I sounded just like this. Like, I've sounded like this since I was 13 years old. So, like, every time I would call a girl's house, her parents thought I was a teacher trying to fuck their daughter. That made for an awkward adolescent experience of me calling and going, no, I'm actually a little boy, and I'd like to take your daughter out on a date to the mall. Like, that's how I sounded. So I like that I finally look how I am.
Yeah. For your consideration, brings us on home. For the host of the We're Not Wrong podcast, it is with great excitement that I announce your nomination for the highly coveted Not Wrongy Award for the best third mic podcast, a prestigious accolade handcrafted in the finest corners of my imagination as soon as I heard that Jen had been scammed by another fake award. It recognizes your unparalleled ability to banter, bicker, and be not wrong on a variety of topics. To confirm your interest, securing the illustrious Not Wrongy Award, complete with virtual trophy that will be created by Grox Imagine, please send $500 via carrier pigeons. But wait, there's more. By confirming your nomination, you'll also receive a complimentary complimentary request to the prestigious MightyHeaton.com newsletter to announce your nomination. An exclusive, I was nominated for a Not Wrongy, and all I got was an email badge and bragging rights as being nominated as the third best 3 Mic podcast. 1 round of drinks on me at your next WNR meetup in Los Angeles. Cheers, and keep being not wrong. And then the self-appointed Not Wrongy Award Committee wrote that in. So I think we should figure it out.
Yeah.
This sounds like
okay,
like
true, independent of this, I thought about doing this, by the way. I thought about creating like the American Political Satire Awards. This is what I think I'm going to do.
Just to give yourself the award?
Every year, I get the award. Every year. But the person who gives the funny speech is the one that's really good. That's the person we're actually honoring. I just think it would be funny if I win the award every time. But the person who gives the speech is the person that we're giving, salutations to. We need to get more into the. I hung out with a guy in Sweden and here recently, and he's affiliated with a think tank, and he's like, "Would you ever be interested in doing any stand up for our think tank?" And I'm like, "In Sweden? Hell yeah! I'll come back to Stockholm, be funny for you. I'll make fun of the Finns all day long." Yeah. And my guess is what's going to happen is they're going to go, we'd love for you to do this, but we can't. We're not actually going to pay for your airfare. Yeah. And like, I think what I will respond with is, why don't you make a bullshit award that I can like put on social media and stuff and go, Heaton has won the Scandinavian Friendship Award or something like that. So if you're part of a Scandinavian think tank and you want me to come do stand up in your country, give me a bullshit award. I'll probably come do it.
There we go. We're Not Wrong is a production of Dog and Pony Show Audio. Our editor is Will Saddleberg. Oh my God. On Wednesdays, the episode that is out now of PX3, do we have a guest that Jen would fucking hate? Oh my God.
I don't hate anyone.
Oh, then I dare you to listen to this interview because we have Alex Epstein, who
Jeffrey's brother.
No, I fucked it up.
You would hate him even more than that guy.
It is Steen, not Stein.
Talking about.
It is Steen, not Stein. And I fucked it up on the interview. He has written 2 books, Jen.
Okay.
One, his first book is The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels.
Ew.
And the second is Fossil Future. He is intensely involved in energy policy. He was in the rooms negotiating about the energy credits in the One Big Beautiful Bill. And he has a very, very specific point of view on energy. It is one that very much involves fossil fuels. His maxim is essentially this: everything that maximizes human life and human longevity, he is for. That is his number one thing. He wants humans to be more to populate more and to live longer and live happier lives.
So
everything
poisoning
else,
us and changing our climate to the point we can't adapt matches that how?
You can listen to the interview or read his books. I will say,
I can give you, I've not read his book. I can give you like just a data point worth considering is that the majority of people that die from lung pollution every year aren't dying in cities. They're not dying from industrialization. They're dying in agrarian cultures where they've got a oven in their home that they burn dung on and they've got poor ventilation. So it's the pre-fossil fuel places where people have the most pollution. So you can make an argument that by industrializing them, they're actually getting less pollutants. You actually get fewer people that die.
Yeah, but you can do that without fossil fuels now. Like, I understand that argument if we're talking in the 1910s, but 100 years later, like, not necessary, bro.
He would make the argument that in terms of monetary policy and the fact that fossil fuels are very uniquely A, cheap, and B, portable, it is an indispensable part of human flourishing, and that we have done a remarkable job. The thing is, he's not a denialist when it comes to climate change, which is an interesting part of his argument. He does not believe that the climate is not changing. Now, he has some specifics about how it's changing and where it's changing, and he's very critical about climate alarmism. He feels that there has not been an appropriate reckoning for people who have made statements that didn't happen or underperformed their expectations. And we still listen to the same people over and over on that. But in general, he's like, look, let's understand that the earth is probably warming because of what is happening with climate change. And that part of it might include downstream effects in terms of the weather. We have become more resilient, largely thanks to fossil fuels, in
What?
surviving these effects.
Have we?
The stats in his book say that we are in way more survivable to extreme weather now than we ever have been, and we rebuild faster than we have ever rebuilt, largely because of the portability of gasoline.
I don't know. Tell that to the people in Paradise, California, and in Lahaina, and the people who are still flooded in Asheville, and I don't buy it for a second. So,
Like I said, you'd fucking hate it.
well, here's the thing.
If you want to go down that road,
Frame that
then you
with
can on
me
PX3.
that I will hate his arguments, but I'm sure I could have a lovely conversation with him because I don't hate anybody, even people I disagree with. So
God, I want to put it to the test now. God, I want to have him on now.
have him on the show. I'll talk to him.
Oh, Jed.
I might do that for the political orphanage. Would you be open to that, Jed?
Yeah.
Great, because then I get to sit back.
All right.
Sounds like a really easy episode for Heaton.
The thing is, if he comes out no,
He's very even keel. He is very,
I'm
very
fine
even
with it.
keel. I will say he is animated in terms of his arguments because he's thought a lot about them. He has done a lot of debates, and he is very factual. He came from a philosophy background before we got into a lot of the energy stuff. And that's why, if I can criticize the book a little bit, is that he makes his points so thoroughly because it is a philosophy treatise where the verbiage on every sentence matters, because that's how you attack a philosophy thing is every way that you word it. But his points are outside the realm of the normal. But anyway,
Sounds
it's on
like it.
PX3. Heaton, the Orf.
I'm doing a special this week that I recorded when I should have been vacationing last week. I went to Finland. Finland is, I think, 3 or 5 years in a row, the top country in the World Happiness Survey. They are a happy country, and I wanted to figure out why and steal their shit. Not their oil, their ideas. I wanted to go
Their
over
sunshine.
there and go, why are you so goddamned happy, Finland? So I went over there and I spoke to people. I talked to them. I went around and I made a really good faith effort to understand what Finland is doing that's different. How do they think different? For people that regularly agree with me and my limited government inclinations, I think you will find the episode challenging, as I did. It'll be fun, but challenging. For people that tend to disagree with me, I think you'll really like it. Jen, you should listen to Justin's show and get your blood pressure up, then listen to my show and have your blood pressure come down.
Yeah.
So what is Finland? What the hell is Finland smiling about is the title of the episode. And it's about 2 hours and it's travelogue going through Finnish society. What do they do? What is the Nordic model? How do they think of things differently than us? Why do they think they're happy? I also spent a lot of time working on why is their social trust so high? I find that fascinating. Why are they so trusting of one another? Is it just the social safety net? Many of them would argue that there's a give and a take between the social safety net. I think that that's probably part of it, but I think that there are several other structural factors that are at work there that probably just can't be applied over here. I also come up with my own theory that I'm not going to explain here. I literally think a big part of it is that they have a lot of saunas in their country, and I walk through. They've got a bunch of saunas. I honestly think that that's a big part of the equation. So that's all on the political orphanage this week.
There we go. Jen, what is sizzling on the dish?
I have finally put out both of the Big Beautiful Bill episodes. They were two of the hardest things I've ever done.
Sir, another episode has hit the podcast feed.
Yes. So, yeah, there's two of them. The second one is all about the tax policy. And when I was listening to it, I'm like, is this gonna be super boring? And it wasn't. I actually think I did a good job of explaining this stuff with my sass. It's definitely spicy, but like the facts are accurate. So you can go ahead and ignore me if you're one of the haters. But yeah, that information's out there. So if you actually want to know what is in this thing, because there's always surprises when you look in the details, those two are out there and ready for you.
There we go.
Yeah.
Well, for Andrew Heaton and Jen Briney, I am Justin Robert Young, letting you know that we're not wrong. Heaton's opinion on happy couples are.
Oh.
Dog and Pony Show audio.